Yes. Everybody hit record. I hit record. 5 seconds silence. Matt, take over after the intro.
You are listening to Trophy Horse with your hosts, Tricky Nick, Alex, I Yield to No One, Sid, and Ender Phoenix.
You ready, guys? This is going to be my best Tricky impression.
Oh, here we go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Trophy Horrors. This is episode 658. I'm your host, Tricky Mick, and with me, the man, the myth, the legend. No, actually, I'm not Tricky Mick. I'm Matt. Alex, what's up?
Well, your voice is much too sensual to be Tricky's voice, but you also didn't talk about needing to take a cigarette break or the Rangers, so you obviously can't be Tricky.
It's a weird dichotomy, maybe I'm just having an identity crisis today. But who's not having an identity crisis? Yield, because he's here with us too.
Oh, it's great to record.
You sound a little heartbroken, Yield.
Well, I was playing video games.
Noted.
They'll still be there when we get done recording.
Well,
Yeah, but
He doesn't want to stop playing video games to come record. He wants to keep playing video games, and
I gotta
admit, there's some weeks I feel the same exact way.
I call those every Sunday.
What's up,
And
everybody?
I am not Tricky, but Tricky is here.
What's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody?
Yeah.
Tricky almost got stuck in Jersey looking for a new place to live.
Oh my God!
You and
your
your
bad jokes.
I swear.
Everybody acts like being stuck in Jersey is bad.
Listen.
Even if I wasn't required to live in the five boroughs, there's no way in hell I'd ever move back to Jersey.
Yes, you would.
No,
there's not a shot in hell.
So, we're going to get off the Jersey talk here for a second. But it is going to be Jersey and New York centric because we're going to talk about pizza real quick. And, boy Jeff Hanna.
This I feel like this is one of the best conversations we've had on the show is about pizza and Tricky going absolutely apeshit over people just having toppings on their pizza.
Well, no, this is going into styles of pizza because over on the Channel 3 lobby where we have our chat, somebody brought up the graphic about, the best pizza. And obviously New York style was on there and got a fair amount of votes. And then somebody said Chicago style is just fat pizza, I think is what they said.
It's like it's kind of like having a bread bowl, but like there's no top to it. It's like thick dough, so it's like a bread bowl. It's almost like a casserole. Like
yeah, I mean, I can't remember. It's been over a week, obviously, since we last recorded. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that back up because, again, I am partial to the pizza we have here in Jersey. I love it. If you like pizza, listen, there is really no bad pizza, even though there's bad toppings, but we're not going to get into that discussion. That's not the purpose of this.
There's
talk.
bad pizza. There's bad pizza everywhere. There's bad pizza everywhere, but
I want to appreciate Matt because that's been my whole thing with this whole pizza conversation on the show is that we lose the distinction because we get to the point of like what's bad pizza or what a pizza is, and then everybody's like, oh, we can put this topping, that topping. There are horrible toppings for pizza. Some toppings never should be on pizza, but pizza at its core is where we lose the conversation. So I appreciate Matt you stand by me on that.
I to Alex's point, I think I may just told a lie. There has been bad pizza. I've had bad pizza. but I fault the person making that pizza more than anything else.
I think another point that needs to be said is, look, I know New York prides itself on its pizza, but there is good pizza outside of New York, and I think that sometimes gets lost on Tricky because he insults some of the ways we like to eat our pizza. Look, if you like to just have sauce and cheese, that's fine. Like, that's the way you like to eat pizza. But I feel like the way that we in the Midwest, or somewhere who's not New York, has been come under fire from Tricky because he wouldn't eat that.
No. All right, you know what? I know, Matt, you said you didn't want to do this, but we're gonna get into this for a second.
Well, Matt knew when he'd opened this can of corn this was going to happen. He had to know. He's not dumb.
Okay. For the record, where I go off on pizza, or people talk about pizza, is the fact that there are people out there that will claim that Chicago style or Detroit style or something like that is better than New York pizza. It is not. They're in a shot in hell. I will tell you, the reason New York pizza is better than every other pizza on the face of this planet is simply because of the water. I've seen people, because the conversation gets lost. Because I've been in Florida, I've been on the West Coast, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is New York style pizza." No, New York style pizza is not defined as a round pie. That's a pizza. When you start doing other things like deep dish and Chicago style and thin crust, that's where the conversation gets lost. There is good pizza outside of New York. But when people try to tell me that Chicago style or Detroit style is better than New York, that's where I lose my shit and say, you're fucking wrong.
Okay.
And hold on, one second. And Will, the flop is why pizza is the best.
So I found the point in the chat, and they said, which slice is superior? Chicago, Neapolitan, Detroit, classic New York City, tavern, or Sicilian? And somebody said Detroit pizza is obese Sicilian pizza.
How do you feel on grandma style pizza?
I don't like it.
What the fuck is that? Was that like you go to your grandma? You go to your grandma's for the afternoon and she busts out like the frozen red berry and just throws it in like the microwave or something, or in the oven.
No,
is that grandma style pizza?
It's thin crust with it's like thinner pizza sauce as opposed to like the thick stuff, and then it's just globs of mozzarella instead of shredded spread all over. It's just globs here or there with basil.
They basically just take chunks of cheese, like blocks of cheese, stick it in random places on it, and then as the pizza cooks, it melts in that spot, but it doesn't fully cover the sauce.
That's not like margarita style? Like,
it's basically that, just it's called grandma in some areas.
So here's the thing. I'm going to give some credence to one of Tricky's arguments, because the whole water thing, I listened to another podcast, and someone who lives up in Jersey who also enjoys and sticks up for New York pizza has made this same claim that it's the water. So I've heard this from more than Tricky.
That's the thing we tell everybody.
Is there like a town hall meeting? Hey guys, this is how we defend our pizza is the best. It's the water.
No. I will tell you the reason I came to that conclusion is because when I lived in Virginia, I was a manager of a Pizza Hut down there, and we made the pizza. And I had Pizza Hut pizza down in Virginia, and I had Pizza Hut in Jersey. I had Pizza Hut pizza in New York, and it was clearly better in New York. And the only difference in all of them was the water. That's how I came to that conclusion.
Alrighty. Well, the only conclusions we really need to come to are our trophy numbers. So let's make sure we give everybody the trophy numbers. While you open up those, I can say Gaz told us it's subjective anyways, and Will says the water is the standard regurgitated reason they all learn from one another. Tricky, your trophy counts.
I am level 962, totals of 34,090 with 983 platinums.
Alex.
Level 517, total trophy count of 10,474 and a platinum count of 188 and 187 games.
Yield.
Oh, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Newly minted level 525 with a trophy count of 10886 and a black count of 206.
I am still level 221 with 1,333 trophies and 0 platinums, but not for a lack of trying. We will get into that in a little bit. And Sid is level 890 with 27,048 trophies, 844 platinums. And before we get into what we've been playing, there's been a request to make sure people get an update on the contest. Tricky?
Yes, the rarity. Yeah, the rarity contest. Gareth heard me doing the updates for us every week and asked if I would pass on some more information. So as Gareth gives me this information, I will read it on the show. He says the highest Division 1 score was from Nitro this week, who scored 162 points. The highest Division 2 score was from Infectious Donk, which at 226 points. The rarest trophies of the week, Gareth got in Worms WMD, which was a 1.15%. California Wayne got a train experience at 1.4%. Infectious Donk got it in Lonely Mountains Downfall, 3.53%. Nitro got it in Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront, 2 with 3.91%. And Yield got one in Red Faction Guerrilla at 3.96%. Platinums earned this week. Let's see. Waterfields 1 got Power Wash Simulator. EDJ3DG. I gotta find a better way to say that. I know there's a different way. Gareth, you're in the chat. Say, tell me how I say pronounce his name.
Pronounce the name by reading letters.
It's some kind of nickname they give him.
Edge.
No, it's something. I know Garrett's in the chat. Diego, that's what it was. Diego got it in GTA 3. Marky Frazier got one in The Last of Us Part 1. And EA Sports WRC. Yield got platinum in Deep Dive and Adventures. I'm not mentioning the name. Got it in the Cowabunga Collection.
True Priestley, I would have to assume.
MZ got it in Battlefront 2. And Geometric Sniper. Psychiatrist got it in The Witcher 3. That's a good plot there. And Aerial Knights and Aerial Knights Never Yield. And Murray 2011 got it in Sly 2. And Homer got one in the Stanley Parable Ultra Edition. So obviously he glitched that one trophy. Overall, for the three of us, Yield, you stayed in 6th place. Alex, you dropped from 12th to 13th, and I dropped from 13th to 14th. And overall this week, Yield got 107 points, Alex got 22, and I got 19. So, Alex, you are maintaining your lead over me.
Great.
And silence. That's it.
Yeah, sorry, my audio fucked up again. Like, I can tell it's off already.
What are you at?
So, it says my audio position's at like after 13, but it's stuck on 12:11 on the Audacity recording.
Is it frozen or is it?
It's frozen right now, but I don't know. It's.
All right.
And of course, it's on the weeks that I fucking. I mean, I don't want this to happen to anybody else while they edit, but it's on the weeks that I fucking edit. I'm so fucking sick of this.
We'll have to figure out your computer issues. When it unfreezes, let me know.
Y'all just make me be the last one to be what you've been playing, because I mean it's stuck with the circle of death right now of loading, and it usually takes a good long while for this to actually correct itself. So,
all right.
Okay, so with the trophy contest notes out of the way, we are going to be going into what we've been playing. And Tricky, we're going to start with you.
Oh, you would start with me, wouldn't you?
I would, and that's my prerogative.
I've been playing Poker Club, which I have a couple gripes about, because apparently nobody's playing this game. At least not enough people are playing this game, because I'm having a hard time sitting down at the tables. Played a little Funko Fusion. Got my spam plat in a game just to get my common trophies up. Been playing a little Chess Ultra as well, and also playing some Division. Coming close to the end of the season. Hopefully, soon we're going to get word on the Brooklyn DLC that's coming out for it, which I'm excited for. Hopefully, more trophies come in with that. I can earn some more trophies in that game. But do any of you guys play poker at all? Texas Hold'em?
No.
Damn it. I'm hoping, because you can invite players. I'm hoping so I could just grind some of these with some people. Anybody out there that plays poker, let me know. There's some really, really random and luck-based trophies. Like there's one where you have to complete it and play inside straight, win a pot when more than 3 people are all in, which very, very rarely happens. You rarely have 2 people all in, let alone 3. You got to hit your needed cards on the turn and the river, which is the 3rd and 4th. And then you have to win the hand. So like that's completely luck based. Win a hand without ever looking at your cards, all luck based. But some of these are grinding. Like it's create a public custom turret, check 100 times, fold 100 times, winning head to head against an opponent 100 times, raise 100 times. There's going to be a lot of grinding with this. It'd be easier. Garrett is in the chat saying he plays a bit of poker, so he may give it a shot. Yeah, Garrett, we'll just have to hook up on the times because every time I try to go into a table, it's hit or miss. It's either full or I'm sitting there waiting 5 minutes for somebody else to show up. So, Funko Fusion.
What prompted you to play a luck-based game when it comes to getting trophies?
Well, one, I didn't know it was luck-based. I really like playing poker. If anybody like MZ or...
Then play 5-card poker. Don't play Texas Hold'em.
Texas Hold'em's the shit, though. That's what everybody plays.
No, it's not. Texas Hold'em is... I disagree, but I'm not a poker finaccio. I'm not a poker pro, but I hate Hold'em.
Well, I mean...
I hate it with passion.
What's your gripe against Hold'em?
Because everybody's using the same 3 cards.
Same 5, but yeah.
Same 5. And that's not poker. To me, that's not poker. You're dealt 5 cards. You make the best hand out of the 5 you got.
So you don't play games like 7-card stud or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No.
See,
that just annoys me. Hold'em got popular several years ago, and now everybody wants to play it. Just like Red Dead, that's the poker they played, and it drove me up the wall.
Because, I mean, Texas Hold'em has been around for 50 years. I mean, that's what the World Series of Poker is about. So it's been around for 50 years.
But that's what I mean. I mean, it got really popular a few years ago, and that's what everybody wants to play. And it's like, I just don't know. Personal opinion, just not a fan of it.
I actually, I respect it, but that's weird to me because most people I talk to prefer to play Texas Hold'em than, typical 5-card draw or 7-card stud or anything like that. But hey, to each their own. Funko Fusion. I tried to go. I played a couple levels. The problem I'm having with this is it's not really explaining what the hell to do, and it's bothering me because if you look at my trophies, this is one of the one of the rare games that tracks your progress in the trophy list. And it's like I have so many zeros, but I don't know what the hell I'm missing. Because it doesn't ever explain it to you.
It doesn't. And there's no in-game tips or tips from the community that you can use?
No. It's okay. There's unlock all the wonder weapons. It's 23 of them, but I'm 0 of 23. Unlock the Voltron cameo quest. I'm 0 of 7. If I'm completing the quest, why is there 7 of them? Complete the Xena cameo quest. There's 7 of those. Defeat Megan. There's 7 of those. Knight Rider cameo quest. There's 7 of those. Unlock all sodas. I have 0-7. Find all Hammond's lost amber. 0-42. The Chucky cameo quest. 0-7. Find all the Foxio parts. 0-42.
Seems like you're going to need a guide.
It definitely, but it's just recycle 50 cans. What cans am I recycling? It doesn't make sense to me. I've killed 1,000 enemies, shooting them all in the head, but somehow I've only popped off 57 heads out of 100. I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm doing wrong. This was recommended to me to Garrett to play because apparently it will get me some points.
Yeah, I can't help you with that.
How's that working out for you?
It's just not. But, I was playing poker and I popped 5 trophies back to back to back, and I still don't know what the hell I popped them for. Couldn't tell you. Like I said, I played in Division 2. Division as well, I should say. Well, Division 2. But playing Division also. Just going through today. This week was the reanimated global event, which is cool. One of my favorite events. Basically, you kill an enemy, and unless you kill them with a headshot, then they reanimate. But if you kill them with a headshot, then they put out this mist that damages everybody around you. So went through that. They also having a 5 times XP multiplier for this week, or this weekend. Should be ending soon. So I was able to gain like 150 levels in 3 days, which is pretty cool. All right, Alex, you ready to come back in?
Yes, sir.
All right, 5-second countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
One.
That's all I've been playing.
All right. Yield. Let's discuss what games you have touched this week, and not like the courtroom. Where did they touch you on the doll? What games you played?
I've been playing The Pedestrian. I've been fired up Submerged. Been playing through that. I've been playing through Star Wars Battlefront 2. Got the 1 trophy that I got into a boosting session with and got. So now I'm just down to get to level 50. And I'll have that platinum in probably maybe next week or the week after. Ran credits on Star Wars Outlaws. So now I just got to go back and punch list the trophies that I don't have yet.
So let me ask this.
All right.
Now that you're through,
yes,
did you enjoy it?
I did. The ending was kind of... Have you finished it?
No, so please don't.
Okay. So the ending was only a little annoying with me because there's stuff going on. And as that stuff's going on, we're kind of continuing the story. And I'm concentrating on what's going on. But yet I'm like, oh, this is story part. But I'm trying not to die. And so...
I know exactly the part you're talking about.
That's just a pet peeve of mine when they do that. It's like, I can't do both. I can't focus on both. So, but other than that, I enjoyed the game. I thought it was fun. Yeah, it was a fun Star Wars game. Could have been better, but it wasn't anywhere near as worse as what I hear or kind of have heard people say. I enjoyed it for what it was.
So no spoilers, Yield.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm trying to figure out how to say this without spoiling anything.
Well, you better not. Matt's going to come over there and kick your tail.
Matt ain't kicking nobody's tail.
Don't need to kick tail when it's on fire.
How is there's no way I can ask this without spoiling something.
Okay, then don't ask it.
Then don't ask
Christ.
I'll send you a Facebook message, Yield.
There you go. Or text it to me. got back into Red Faction Guerrilla on the 3. There's a group of people trying to boost the trophies. I haven't been able to hook up with them yet, but I need to play through the story anyway because there are some. You have to beat the pro time in all the demolition challenges and all the driving challenges, and my save file was on my PS3 that died. So obviously I have to play through the story to unlock all of that. I didn't find all the ores. So again, you got to play through the story so I can get unlocked all the ores. And so, but I started doing some of that, which if you have Red Faction Guerrilla on the 3, hit me up. We can work on it. And as Tricky mentioned in the trophy update, oh, my phone is on.
You told me you texted me. You told me you texted me.
I did. I didn't realize I still had my ringer on. And as Tricky mentioned, my latest platinum came in Deep Diving Adventures. I finished that off Monday. So,
Yield, I got to call you out.
What's that?
You have defiled your trophy list.
Oh yeah, what?
In a way that you said that you never would.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
You have officially played a spam game.
What game was that?
The Pedestrian.
Oh,
it is regarded as a spam game because there is no effort in the game. You can literally go through a guide and get the platinum under an hour.
Oh, well, I can tell you that I've got way more than an hour in this game. So, it looked like a cool little puzzle game, so I bought it on the cheap, and I hadn't played it yet, and I'm like, I'm going to start playing that. Heck, I fell asleep one night playing it.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not calling you out as calling you out. It's like, oh, you saw, but if somebody from the outside looking in who didn't know that you're honorable, they would look at it and say, oh, you'll play the spam game.
Oh well. I figured I did that a long time ago with Black the Fall, so.
Okay, but to be fair, Gareth is in the chat right now defending you. He says it's only under an hour if you use glitches. Normal play isn't spam, and he says I'm being very harsh on you. Well, I'm not. I'm busting his chops.
You do that, but yeah, I've got way more than an hour. I'm trying to figure it out on my own, and just because it looked like a fun puzzle game, and it is actually a fun puzzle game. If you like puzzle games.
That's the same thing I said about Daggerhood. Like, that was called a spam game, but I really honestly enjoyed my time with Daggerhood. So, there are spam games out there that are legitimately fun to play.
Oh,
I'm just busting your chops. That's all.
That's fine. I'm ignoring the fact that you're trying to do that.
Well, and Gareth is coming to your aid. So,
see, people love me. What can I say?
That all? Yield.
I think so.
Okay. Well, if there's anything you want to add to it, you can add back in.
No, I believe recently played. I think that's it. Oh, okay. I did play some farm. So I take that back. I did play some Farm Simulator 19 as I'm trying to work towards my 100 contracts complete. So that's everything that I've played. A little bit of everything this week, and a whole lot of Star Wars.
Okay. Alex, why don't you tell us what you've been digging into?
Actually, Matt, can I throw back to you? Because Tricky said he was stepping away for a second, our chat, and what I've been playing, I kind of want him here, just in case he's played this game. So let's go to you, so Tricky can have some time to get back from whatever he's doing, tongue-kissing horses, or, opening up a beer or something, or taking half a vape. I don't know. We don't know. We can never know what Tricky's doing.
Tongue punching the butthole of the tobacco industry is probably what he's doing.
That's about the most erotic way anyone's ever said it.
I'll be more creative next time.
No, we love erotic around here, Matt.
Last week when we were talking about The Simpsons, I'm going to bring up another Simpsons reference. You remember the end of the Halloween special where Homer turns into a 3D representation and gets ported to the real world?
Yeah.
And at the end, he sees like an adult store, and he's like, erotic cakes. And he walks in. I never quite understood why that occurred. All right.
Matt Groening just found it funny.
I guess he was the only one. As a kid, I'm just looking at it going, I don't get it. Played a whole bunch of Helldivers. My buddies and I have been trying to reliably play bugs on level 7 so we can get more rare samples. We have a decent amount of super samples. It's the rare samples that we were hurting.
It's those fucking rare samples. I hate them. They're the worst.
Always. And, we did surprisingly well. But there was a video I saw of Helldivers this week. It said, here's some high-level gameplay. So there was a player, and he launched a Eat Resupply, the expendable anti-tank, and tagged the charger with it. The charger got hit, which exploded the resupply pod, which sent one of the eats flipping through the air. The player caught it midair and then blasted the charger in the face with it. It was one of the most magnificent plays I had ever seen. But we've just been playing through that, just trying to, again, earn some more rare samples. Did some more Battlefield 2042. They opened up portal mode again, where it just kind of cycles through Battlefield 1942, Battlefield 3, and Battlefield Bad Company 2 maps with those classes. And it's really interesting going from the high-tech stuff you have to 1942, where you're a sniper with a single type of lens and nothing to defend yourself. There was nothing you could do against tanks or assaults right in your face. It reminds you of the old style games that made it really difficult to play. And there was actually a point we were playing one of the maps, and the enemy team was on a platform above our conquest point, and they kept spawning in because the recons put up a mobile spawn beacon. So no matter how many times we killed them, we couldn't stop them from spawning because they would either spawn on their teammates or spawn on the beacon. But recons have this, it's called the MAV. It's just basically a drone, and you could destroy enemy equipment. And for some reason, nobody on our team was thinking of doing that. So I had to become the sacrificial lamb of just sitting there out in the open, flying the MAV to destroy these things. But we cleared out the nest, and we ended up, I think we won that match in the end. But more to the point, still playing more Battlefield 2042, leveling up. I also put more time back into this game called Chucksy, which is basically a horror game that you exorcise ghosts with consecrated bullets. It is sometimes the hokiest thing I have ever seen, and other times it's the most scary shit I have ever seen, because it uses Unreal Engine 5, and the enemy movements, they move and act like you'd expect a ghost. If there's a mannequin under a bed sheet, it moves and acts like you'd expect something under a bed sheet to be, flailing at you. And it's got all the jump scares and spooky settings. And, even though I have a gun, it still gets very scary at times. So it's such a weird, unique little experiment that I've been playing. Did more Monster Hunter Rise. Again, just trying to bide my time until Monster Hunter Wilds comes out in little over 30 days. So I'll be probably doing a bunch more Monster Hunter Rise and World until then. V and I have started our own run of Baldur's Gate 3. She has started a class as a barbarian, so she can just smack things. And I am a sorcerer specializing in fire. Surprise, surprise. And we're it's her first time playing. This is about my third or fourth time playing through the first act, and learning that, even though your 4 people is level 3, sometimes going up against a level 5 and a bunch of level 4s is not the way you want to do things. So after a number of deaths and restarts, we've been making some progress in there. She's having fun being able to like see and do things for the first time. And I am, of course, having fun just exploding things with fire everywhere. And I didn't get to play it too much, but I did load it up. And Alex, this is where you come in. Is I loaded up Amenti. I tried it on the Steam Deck first and foremost. And the reason why it doesn't work too well is because, Alex, this is a beautiful game, at least from the start.
Yeah, dude, the walk up to the pyramid is pretty fucking incredible.
It's amazing, and unfortunately on the Steam Deck, it's just too much. I was getting maybe like 20 frames a second. So I loaded it back up on my computer. I, again, did that walk up, and unfortunately then I had to run somewhere. But I will say that from the onset, this game looks gorgeous, and the setting, the atmosphere is all what you'd expect. So I'm kind of excited. I'm gonna put some time into it this week, so you'll be able to hear more about it next week.
I'm excited, yeah, because I think one of the things they nail. Again, we talked about how this game might not be that long. Again, it was only $7 to buy, but atmosphere-wise, claustrophobia, relying on the darkness, on these largely unexplored tunnels in an ancient Egyptian pyramid, where you kind of got to worry about the pharaohs and the curses and everything. Like, it just seems like they just nailed the atmosphere from the videos that I've seen. So,
yeah. So we'll definitely be reporting out on that next week, because I definitely want to get into it and see more of what the game has to experience.
I'm sorry, stepped away. Which game is this?
Amenti.
Oh, okay.
That's the game,
Alex
the Egyptian.
recommended last week.
Yeah, the first-person Egyptian horror game that I brought up last week.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Other than that, that's all I've been playing. And now that Tricky is back, Alex, you want to go into what you've been playing, because you said you might have a thing for Tricky to discuss.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, getting to brass tacks, getting a few things out of the way. Rocket League, Helldivers 2, no one's surprised. But I started a brand new game this week. Well, not brand new, it's older, but brand new to me. And it was Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered. And this fucking series. When I first started playing this game, I was like, why the fuck am I playing this game? And then I popped a trophy and it's like, God damn it.
Now you gotta go all the way.
Now I gotta go all the way.
Yeah, and I've got 7 by this point, so they're not popping right away, but you don't expect that from Assassin's Creed game, because you got to put a lot of elbow grease into these games. But I don't know if it was the smartest pick for an Assassin's Creed game, because I'm kind of disillusioned with the series as is. And this game kind of came out at the point where the formula is starting to get kind of stale. It's really weird, because this game came out the same day as Unity. And
no, Black Flag.
No, it was Unity.
No, it wasn't Black Flag. That Rogue was made later.
Yeah.
I thought Rogue was the 3 version, because they couldn't put Black Flag on.
I think it takes place between 3 and 4, so between Assassin's Creed 3 and 4 timeline-wise, because it's set during the French and Indian War. Which,
oh no, I was talking about real-time release.
But no, it's what I read. It was the same day as Unity.
Yes.
Which came out? Which came out at the same time as Black Flag? Then
I don't know.
So, Tricky, you can search here while I blabber on. But
I am.
So yeah, this game came out on the same day as another mainline Assassin's Creed game, and like I said, it was around this time when the formula started to get stale, because they did Syndicate later, like a year later, and then they took a break to bust out Origins in 2017. So maybe not the best game to pick, but at the same time, like I said, I don't want to play like a super long Assassin's Creed game. Odyssey and Valhalla at this point are no-goes for me, just because of how long they take to play. It's like the Batman Arkham series. I stopped at City because they started saying, for Night and Origins, it's like, oh, the map is twice the size. And I'm like, you know how much time I put into fucking City? I don't want to do that for the rest of these other fucking games. As soon as you say map's twice as big now, for these large fucking sandbox games, you lose me, because I don't want to do that. But Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered, it came out the same year as, must have been 2017, I think. I read it came out the same year as Origins. So just kind of almost like an afterthought in the series, I think. But again, like the French and Indian War, not like a particularly exciting time to set this. I mean, I'm not saying it's not an important time in history, but when you think like other games have been set in like the Holy Lands during the Crusades, or in Egypt, or during the time of the Vikings. Like French Indian War is not the most exciting thing. So it also kind of feels like more of a DLC, I guess some people have said, because you had the ship battles from Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which are still fun. But this game kind of lacks its own identity because the kind of colonial America setting is very, you just played Assassin's Creed 3 and then, you've got Unity. So it's kind of set around the same time and just kind of has the same feelings. And in general, I don't like traversing water. To me, it just seems like it's more cumbersome to get into like the water and travel around as opposed to just getting on a horse and darting around land. Now, I will say this game has a fantastic fast travel system. So anytime you get to an island and a synchronization point, once you're there, you can fast travel to that island again. So you don't have to sail there. So that is very nice. But just overall, this game just kind of feels like it was completely unnecessary. Just like mechanically, it's not a bad game. It's just there's nothing particularly thrilling about it. You think of like even a game like Syndicate, which I wasn't super like enthralled to play, but it still has like a lot of really cool places like the River Thames or Big Ben. Like there's a lot of cool places and landmarks that you get to see in London or in the surrounding environs. But in this game, it's just your island hopping, from one to another. I mean, I did go to Mount Vernon and assassinate Lawrence Washington because he's a Templar, but it just there's not most of the islands and everything. It just kind of feels like all the same, except for some of the islands are like, they're up real north, so they got penguins on them, which is kind of cool. But yeah, just I'm missing a lot of landmarks. Just I don't know. This game, to me, from what I've seen, like a lot of people seem to think it like misses a lot of it. It kind of lacks an identity. It kind of takes from a lot of other Assassin's Creed games. Banger of a main theme though. That thing is real damn good. I like that quite a bit. So, and I guess one of my biggest problems with Assassin's Creed is one, the assassinations feel like absolutely nothing. Still to this day, like, and again, a lot of my expectations, like I don't think these things are going to improve on a game, Assassin's Creed game released in 2014. It's just the way the series was at that point. So I think they have to do a lot of work to make the assassinations feel important again. But the games just feel bloated. This is a smaller one. So I will say that the story, I think, is smaller than the other ones. But still, you're sailing to all these islands and just doing a bunch of bullshit, like, collectible hunting. It's just the Assassin's Creed games, and Mirage may have done this, but they really need to cut back on these games. Tell an enthralling story, have the gameplay be as fun as it is, but once I have to do like grind out ship battles or grind out going to all these islands, it ceases to be fun. And I feel like that's what a lot of Assassin's Creed is. They want you to play for 50 or 60 hours, so they're just going to give you a bunch of bullshit to do that you eventually get tired of. So main gameplay is fine. It's just I think that with the Assassin's Creed series, they want you to invest too much time in it. Like, hey, please don't go resell this. Play it for 100 hours, and hopefully you don't get bored of it. So I didn't really expect Rogue Remastered to change my opinion of the series, but I think it's probably the most blasé Assassin's Creed I've played before. So I don't know. The fact that I didn't have to buy into it, it's on PlayStation Plus, so I'm not really that upset about it, but I'm just tired of playing these super long Assassin's Creed games for platinum trophies. Like, it's just not really all that interesting to me.
Well, to be fair, Alex, and I'm not criticizing you, you're complaining about having hopped to the islands. That's really only that's only a detriment to people like us that go after the trophies. For the average player like Matt, if Matt was to play, he's not gonna hop to all the islands. He's just gonna do the main story and the side missions. He's not gonna be go for all the collectibles.
No, but again, this is my experience with the game. So like,
I get that. I'm just saying, to be fair, your criticism that's what Ubisoft's doing is making you play this for 100 hours. They're not really. They're just saying if you want the platinum, this is what you got to do.
No, and I get that. And like I said, like the ship battles, they are fun, but once I get to doing like hundreds of them, I'm sure it's going to be kind of like I'm going to be over it. But doing the harpoon missions where you can harpoon orcas and white whales and narwhals and stuff. Those are fun. A lot of
criticism for that.
You what?
They got a lot of criticism for that.
Why?
Why?
You got all the activist groups out there that are saying it's cool to the animals.
Well, I mean,
they're digital animals.
They're digital animals. I'm not advocating for anybody to go out there and hunt or harpoon animals, but
I'm just saying they got a lot of criticism for that. That's one of the reasons why that didn't come back and say like, what was it again that took a while for them to come out with? The Black Flag spinoff.
Rogue.
Skull and Bones.
Yeah, Skull and Bones. That's
Yeah,
why
but I mean, like it's not just at sea. When you're on land, you can skin animals. You can kill and skin animals. Like I'm not like glorifying it, or it's not like I'm like playing this game like, oh man, I wish I could do this in real life. Like again, I mean, they're digital animals, so it is what it is. Like I can separate, doing this to a digital animal to like craft things in the game, just like I can play a GTA game and not, want to go out and just run people over with my car. I don't know, maybe I'm just a superhero or something. But I mean, Tricky, did you play this game?
I spent a couple hours in Rogue. I didn't do too much into it. I don't remember why I stopped playing it. I was having fun with it. And just for the record, you are right. It did come out with Unity. I don't know why it came out I thought it came out at the same time as Black Flag.
No, because I knew you were wrong about that, because people talked about how many mechanics it took from Black Flag, and for that to happen, it would have to come after.
I just thought because the ship, the sailing element, that they came out at the same time. I don't know why I thought that, but you are right. It did come out with Unity.
Oh, and the one thing. A couple more things here. So, one of the big kind of like story elements of this game is that you play as a Templar. You play as an assassin turned Templar, and I'm not super far in the story. Like I've explored most of the North Atlantic, which is one area of the map. So I've gone to I'm doing most of the island searching and collectible hunting right now. But one of the big complaints I've seen about this game is that when you turn into a Templar, you essentially play the exact same way as an assassin. So story-wise, it's kind of a cool narrative twist, but gameplay-wise, it's just like you're playing as an assassin. So,
I guess thank you for spoiling that for me.
The game is how old? You're not going to play this game, Tricky. I guarantee.
No, it's one of the games I was planning to go back and play. Because I do want to go back and play 3, Black Flag, Rogue, all of them. I still got to get back and get the Platinum and Syndicate, which Syndicate's actually my favorite one of all of them. Which
is shocking because Syndicate is kind of tight.
I thought Syndicate had the best protagonist. Jacob and
Evie Fry.
I thought they were the best protagonists. I know a lot of people would say it was
well, it's either Ezio or Altair. Like they're the best.
Ezio. Everybody was, but I thought Jacob and Evie were the best protagonists in any of the series.
What I will say is I think that Altair is better than all of them because to me, of what I've played, he was the most like stone cold. Like you would believe personality-wise that Altair was more of an assassin than Ezio, who has a little bit more personality to him. So the last thing I'll say is this continues to be a trend. Ever since they killed Desmond, I absolutely fucking hate the real world segments. Like they take you out of the Animus early on in this game, and you're like walking around a first person in office and like repairing computers. Like it's the dumbest shit ever. They have not found a good way to go outside the Animus and make it interesting. In no game that I've played, Syndicate, Origins, every time they take me out of the Animus, which I will say, you can leave the Animus and go to the real world anytime you want. They've only forced me to do it once, but it is the most bullshit gameplay where I'm like, just get me back in the Animus. I want to play as the assassin again. So they have severely, when losing Desmond, they have severely fucked that part of the game. And they shouldn't even do it.
You didn't like the real world in the original game?
It was fine. Because that was like, they were actually building the story outside, and then the whole Desmond thing happened. It's like a train wreck sense because they don't seem to know what to do now with it. They're just random Abstergo characters that are meaningless in the end, and the gameplay is not fun. So I don't know. Either they need to find something else to do with those segments, or they can just cut them entirely from the game because they're awful. Like I don't want to do them. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Assassin's Creed Rogue. I think mechanically it's fine. The ship battles are fun. The setting, like I said, an important time in history, but not particularly enthralling when comparing to others. I just think, that in reality, I didn't expect it to change my opinion of Assassin's Creed, but it's kind of just like you get into that formula, and it had been going for so long that around this time of Unity and Syndicate and Rogue, it's just like people were starting to get tired of the series, which is why, again, we start to see the elements of the they go to more the RPG elements with Origins and Odyssey. They made that change up, I believe, after Syndicate. So.
And welcome to the chat, the Goddess 413. Anything else?
Well, it's pretty much I've been putting most of my time into Rogue Remastered, and yeah.
So last week, Alice, me and you, I'm not gonna say we got into a tiff, but we kind of disagreed on like the open world feel of Assassin's Creed. I don't know how to define it, but something feels different in these open world games, like in Rogue and in why am I blanking on the damn names now? Rogue. What was the last one that just came out?
Mirage.
Those open worlds feel a lot different. Thank you, Goddess. She was there when we got into our tiff. Those open worlds feel a lot more contained than Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. So it's, I don't know, like I feel like the worlds are different. You don't feel like the worlds are different, Alex, when you're playing it?
So what I'll say is the map still feels gigantic. For Syndicate, I didn't, and the Syndicate was before they did the whole switch over to Origins. I think it was actually the last game before they went over to Origins. But to me, I mean, you're in London. The city is still massive now in scope. And I think with one of the Ezio games, it may have been Brotherhood. It was more contained to like Rome, I think, because the first game you go to Acre, Damascus, and Jerusalem, so that's more sprawling. But I believe in some of the games they do contain it to one city. But I mean, yeah, like you cover more of Egypt, because you're going to Alexandria and you're going to, the pyramids of Giza and like you're going to the deserts. Like, yeah, map wise, like if we're talking total area, it's more spread out and it's more, in Syndicate, it's more centralized to London and around there, but still the map feels gigantic. I mean, it's still open world. It's still sandbox, even if you're covering, more area. Even if you're focusing on a region as opposed to a city, it all still feels gigantic. Because it took me a good month to Platinum Trophy Syndicate. Playing, consistently every night. Just like it took me all of December in 2023. So it's not like it's a small game by any means. I mean, you're still going to put 50 to 60 hours into it. So to me, it all feels the same, honestly. And and people talk about like RPG elements in, they added those in Origins. There's RPG elements in Rogue. Like you upgrade your ship, you craft gear based on resources you collect. You can also upgrade, your weapons. So I don't know. People seem to separate Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla from all these other games. They're still all open world games, and there is to some degree in some of these games RPG elements. So I don't know why people make all these distinctions. It's kind of like
you don't think they feel differently playing it?
No. Having a giant map and having all these collectibles and doing all these missions, it all feels the same to me. It's like Ubisoft told us these games are different, and we just believe them.
I feel like they're different types of open worlds, but
sorry, man, you just give me like this, a wide open map to explore, and whether I'm going, covering an entire country or I'm covering just a city, it all feels the same. Because I mean, realistically, like when you're traveling around Egypt, it's all condensed too. Like it's not like you're traveling around in real time around Egypt. That would take forever. So in the game space, they have to condense it to make you be able to get feasibly from one area to the other. Otherwise, it would take you days to fucking travel.
All right. And I know you mentioned earlier, and I'll let Matt move on after this. I know you mentioned timeline-wise, Rogue actually takes place between Black Flag and Unity.
Okay, it's not 3 and Black Flag.
I'm looking on the Wikipedia page right now. It says narrative chronology. It goes Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood, Revelations 3, Black Flag, Rogue, Unity, Syndicate, Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, Mirage, and then Shadows. That's the order in which they go.
Well, that's the order of release, because if that's the case, are you talking about, because timeline of the lore, Origins is first, because that's where the assassins started.
You know what?
Bayek.
All right, so you got a point there. It does say Rogue takes place during the French and Indian War. Black Flag takes place during the golden age of piracy, Unity during the French Revolution, Victoria Syndicate was during the Victorian England.
Yeah, Syndicate is the closest to real to today. Because
right,
I mean, obviously,
it also takes place during World War One.
Yeah, because like Valhalla and Odyssey would take place long before most of these other games.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Okay, I don't know. I just looked at this. It said narrative chronology. So.
Yeah, narratively, Origins. I mean, it's called Origins for God's sakes. But yeah, Bayek was the first. Like, I mean, the end of that game. You know what? If you haven't played the game by now, they kill Caesar. That's the very final thing that happens in that game. So that is the first in the timeline. And of course, obviously, the Vikings, the Danes, and ancient Greece, like that all happens before the Industrial Revolution in fucking Britain or the French Revolution. So obviously, those games that are we know is coming out released sooner. They're all timeline wise before the 2015, the 2014 games. So
you know what? Okay, so I'll just add the correction. That's the order of the games based on the present day characters, not the historical characters.
The assassin character. Yeah, well, I mean, again, I'll say, who gives a shit about the new characters? Because they have never. I feel like with Desmond, they're like, yeah, this would be really cool, and they've never found any good way to do anything outside of the Animus since then.
Okay.
Because there's not, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Tricky, you play more of these games. There's not a consistent character, I believe, outside the Animus when you're in Abstergo ever since Desmond died, correct?
There is, but they're not playable characters.
Okay.
It's the, oh God, I can't remember the names. It was the real shitty guy that Desmond deals with. He's got the real attitude. His name was Sean. Sean Hastings. He's been in every game so far that's had an outside world or present day world. All right, sorry, Matt. We're on a little spiel here.
I'm sure Yield and I were finding things to do.
Uh-huh.
Hey, it's all for the listeners. That's what they want to hear, right? Is the content about what we've been playing and our opinions.
You are correct.
That is accurate. Which is why I didn't interrupt or interject, but now I am going to interject with some news articles. And the first one comes from Video Game Chronicles, Chris Scullion, and he talks about how the Video Game History Foundation is making its digital library available to the public next week. So by the time you're listening to this, January 30th is around the official launch. But basically what it is, it's a digital area for you to go to look at pieces of gaming history. So like, for instance, they're allowing that there's going to be over 1,500 out-of-print video game magazines in there. The foundation is nonprofit. It does rely on donations to build up the archives, and it was started by game preservationist Frank Cifaldi. Setting it up in 2017. So, Yield, go to you first. Any interested in visiting a digital library on gaming history?
It'd be interesting to see. I mean, at least we're doing something. I'd rather see it in an actual museum, but take it where you can get it, I guess.
I wonder where, if they were going to do a physical video game museum, where they would put it. Because you got the Football Hall of Fame in Canton, you got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. I'm curious where in all the museums and stuff in New York and in Washington D.C. I just wonder where they would put a video game Hall of Fame.
And I think the thing about that is having the physical things there in front of you is neat. But ultimately, since you can't touch and feel or play them, that's where you're going to depend on barcades or retro arcades to do that. But having a museum with old magazines and old books, especially from a digital perspective, lends longevity to it. Whereas a traditional museum, the magazines will probably crumble and fade away after time. So as a digital front, I'm actually ecstatic that they're doing something like this. And to think, it was boggling my mind, the logistics of how much it would take to digitize all of that information. Because then I sit there and I think, well, a standard library, traditional books with microfiche and the Dewey Decimal System, how much it takes to start up one of those and keep those running. Here, it's servers with data, and you could easily replicate that if it becomes like too overburdened by visitors. So I'm definitely interested in visiting this place, but to answer your question, Alex, I figure something like that would probably be like California or Digital Valley or Silicon Valley, I should say.
Yeah, or maybe the triangle, the digital or the information triangle, and the technology triangle, I forget what it's called, in North Carolina. But imagine how cool it would be, how much of a flex it would be if like your town, your hometown, or where you lived had the Video Game Hall of Fame, and they had like not only the museum part of it, but then they also had the arcade where you could play some of the old games, but also a restaurant themed around video games. They could make so much fucking money off that place. Now, not going off too far off script here and talking about just kind of like what we have now, I think again a digital library is a lot more feasible. I'm interested to see how thorough it is and how, because like you said, Matt, it'd be a lot of work to digitize all of the history of video games, but I'm interested to see if they continue to add to it and again, how thorough it is and how much detail it goes into. Because I mean, it could be really cool to look back at games that maybe, how many people know about Ninja Baseball Batman? From the arcades. I played it once at the Wisconsin Dells, and it's not available fucking anywhere to play. I'm sure people who have, modded their PCs or their consoles can play it, but like just old games like that you haven't played in a long time, just getting to look at like screenshots and just watch videos of it, that'd be really awesome. So I mean, who knows, maybe we should do a little homework assignment, and like once this goes live, maybe all of us can just sit down and take a look at it in our own time, and just kind of we can all talk about like our general thoughts on it once we've had some time to sit down with it.
I'll send a reminder to the group once it actually goes live, see if I can get in. I don't know the logistics of how you're going to be able to go. I don't know if it's just like a website or if it's going to be a applet you download. So I'll do some research and get that out to the crew. But I mean, Yield, did you ever collect gaming magazines or own a subscription to gaming magazines?
I've pretty much held on to all my Nintendo Powers that I pretty much hold on to all of my magazines that I have. So I've got Nintendo Power. They may not be in the best shape now. Official PlayStation magazine, and the last subscription I had was Game Informer.
Like I go back and I think when I had Game Pro and Electronic Gaming Monthly coming to me every month, and the old graphics of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 being the guy with the ecstatic hair. There's some nostalgia there I have to be able to go back and read some of those. Alex, you ever have any magazine subscriptions?
I would buy, like when we would go to the grocery store, because there would be the big aisles of magazines for in like the Kroger's here, where we like they had like a lot of Electronic Gaming Monthly, EGM, Game Pro. So I would like buy. I don't think I ever had a subscription to any of those. I had a WBF magazine subscription and went to my dad's house, but I don't think I ever had a subscription to any of the video game magazines. But I would buy them every now and again if there was a game on the cover, that, or like a spread or something like that I really was interested in. The strategy guides, though, I was probably more want to collect those because I just love looking at the pictures and seeing like all the boss battles stuff. I don't know. A strategy guide was something I was probably more, even if I didn't need it for the gameplay, I was probably more likely to buy one of those because it was focused on a game I was interested in. Like I remember when a kid brought in 8th grade the Ocarina of Time strategy guide to school, and we just like sat at a table and like just fucking looked at all the pictures, and it was so cool. So yeah, that's a few magazines here and there, but I didn't really keep a lot of them.
Okay. Real quick, Tricky, I've seen your messages, but I'll just ask you real quick. Did you ever do magazine subscriptions when you were younger?
No, the only thing I ever did was Game Informer, and that's because GameStop gave it to me for free.
So, yes, you did do magazine subscription when you were younger.
Well, I mean, I would get them and just throw them away, but yes.
Okay, well.
I never really kept them. The only thing I kept around was magazines I wasn't allowed to have because I was underage.
We all did. With that said, I'm excited, and I'll send a message once it goes live so we can all take a look at it at our leisure. Maybe we'll have something for it next week. Next article is evidently, you remember that Horizon MMO RPG that was being planned?
Yes.
Well, coming from Video Games Chronicle, Jordan Midler, a South Korean site noted NCSoft canceled projects it's been working on, codenamed H, J, and Pantera. No, not that Pantera. Word on the street was Project H was the unannounced but highly anticipated Horizon MMO. And NCSoft had previously in October had announced some layoffs, so they're thinking this might be a side effect of that. I think I know Yield, you and I think we're on the same page, being like, I don't know if this was necessarily needed. Alex, did you have thoughts on a Horizon MMO?
You mean a game I got to play with a bunch of other motherfuckers?
Yes.
Okay, so that's a big no. That
Honestly, I don't know. I always was curious how I was very much cautious about it because, again, there are only certain games I can play with other people, especially random, people online. But the idea of maybe like taking down like the creatures together, like could have been cool. But then again, like also I have a lot of fun playing the game by myself and taking down a Thunderjaw on my own. So, would getting together with people and then, having help taking a slaughter spine, would that really be a lot more fun? I don't know. I was willing to hear it out and see what happens. But at the end of the day, like I'm just kind of here waiting for Horizon 3. So I'm not going to miss this. Like, again, here's another example. We talked about this last week. Here's another Sony established IP that they tried to do something with, or do live service or do something more online multiplayer. It ain't gonna work out. Now it may not be completely Sony's fault, but here's just another example.
All right. Well, they're kind of doing something similar to that with that Elden Ring Night Rain, where it's just going to be you and friends going after bosses. So that's a different take on it. Tricky, any thoughts on Horizon MMO potentially being the one that was canceled?
No. I mean, obviously I'm a big Horizon fan, but I don't really have any thoughts on this.
Okay.
He's heartbroken, folks.
I'm still heartbroken over we never got the actions. That's what I really wanted.
Yield, I know you and I kind of talked about this. Do you have any other thoughts before I move on?
No, won't miss it.
All right. Next up, EA in trouble? I got a couple different articles here. Basically, the first one being that Apex Legends has lost 70% of its Steam players in 2024. And that's not the be-all, end-all, because obviously that doesn't take into account the number of players on Origin, or as it's now known as the EA app. The problem is, though, if a bunch of your players were playing on Steam and they just stopped playing, I feel like that's not meaning that they just started loading it up on the EA app, that maybe they moved on to something else, like maybe Marvel Rivals. And the second article is that EA lost $6 billion in market value following Football Club 25 and Dragon Age underperformance. So also coming from Video Game Chronicles, basically that EA warned the market it expects a decline in its live service revenue, a primary reason being the EA Football Club slowdown that occurs around the Christmas time, and that Dragon Age Veilguard missed its expectations by around 50%, with 1.5 million players reached. So within 24 hours of that announcement, EA lost $6 billion in market value. Yes, I know Zelda. That is a bad number.
Really? Zelda's not a fan of that.
No, of course not.
Here's what it is, and I'll tell you exactly what this is a result of, okay?
All right.
EA pissed off a lot of fucking people. And this is fans rebelling against EA. They said, you know what? You all go fuck us over. You can take your games and you can shove it. All these Dead Space 2 fans that aren't going to get Dead Space 2 remake, they're like, fuck you, EA. We're going to move the needle and we're not going to play your other shit. or probably something more logical. But you know what? I'm mad about Dead Space, so there's that.
Yield.
I don't have nothing.
Well, hold on. How long has Apex Legends been out?
Oh, it's been a while now.
Because I feel like Apex Legends has been out since Steven was on the show. Because I remember Steven talking about playing it.
Apex has been out since 2019.
Okay, so we're in 2025. Do we not expect some decline? It's like we talked about this with Destiny and Bungie. A game can only last for so fucking long.
You know, I think this is a product of just the ebbs and flow of the market right now, because right now the hot thing is fucking Marvel Rivals out there. Everybody's playing it. A lot of the streamers that I watch, that's what they're playing. And you're going to see a drop off on, Warzone. You're going to see a drop off on Apex. You're going to see a drop off on Overwatch. Overwatch kind of shot themselves in the foot. Let's just be real there. But there's always a drop off. I think once the newness of Marvel Rivals wears off, you'll see the numbers get back on Apex, because currently I think Apex has a competitive scene. Like there's tournaments and stuff like that, what they have with Warzone and like Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. I don't know that we never see it in why am I blanking on names this week? What's the Sony owned tournaments now?
Oh, the one where Street Fighter's real big.
Evo. Thank you. I have no idea why I'm blanking on names this week. I don't think we'll ever see it in Evo, but yeah, there's definitely
Evo's mostly fighting games, isn't it?
It's basically only fighting games.
Is it? I thought it was. I thought it expanded itself.
Not to my knowledge.
What tournament am I thinking of? It has like all the different categories, like Rocket League and stuff like that.
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway,
I assume like a lot of these games, like Rocket League, have their own tournaments. Like it's not like a part of a larger thing like Evo. It's just their Rocket League tournaments.
Well, no, Rocket League does run their own tournaments. But I thought there was like a bigger governing body of like all the tournaments.
But like that's the thing though, is like one of the things that makes Evo so special is that you have all the fighting games fans and the fighting games there. You can't have, if you're trying to do this hodgepodge of games like shooters, racers, platform brawlers, fighting games, like that's a lot.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of EA. But
nobody's a fan of EA. People are a fan of stuff that EA puts out occasionally, but they're not a fan of EA themselves.
I think them losing the FIFA license kind of hurt their game a little bit there.
Yeah, but there was always Pro Evolution Soccer, wasn't there? From Konami. That was always really popular too.
Yeah, but FIFA was the shit.
Yeah, except now that FIFA no longer allows them to use the name, and they're using Football Club.
And they have to use generic players now, right? They're not allowed to use the actual players' names.
I'll look that up. Talk.
I mean, that would just be my thought. I don't know there for a presence. I mean, because if you guys remember, there was a baseball game came out, and everybody had to sign into the Players Association, and Barry Bonds was the one to opt out. So they put a player in the game called John Doe, which was basically Barry Bonds with all his stats, but it was, they couldn't use Barry Bonds' name. So I'm just assuming that with Football Club, they have to, because they don't have the FIFA license no more, they probably have to use generic names for the players.
The guy says EA Football Club is still real teams and players, so they just can't use the FIFA name.
I wonder how they're getting around that then.
I don't know. All right. Well, there's no getting around that they lost $6 billion in market value. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to fleece players out of more money and make it up somehow. It's not like they lost $6 billion in like real money, I guess is the way. It's just their market value.
Aren't they about to lose the Madden license too?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I was just getting ready to say they'll be all right. Football's about to come out here in a few months. It'll be okay.
Yeah, but I thought they were about to lose the Madden license.
That'd be the best thing for football games.
All right. Well, we'll move on. Enough talking about EA. But we are moving on to Insomniac, and announced from the PlayStation blog, Ted Price, the visionary leader of Insomniac Games, having been involved over the past 30 years, will be retiring. Taking over for him will be Ryan Schneider, Jen Huang, and Chad Desern. They will co-head Insomniac moving forward. That said, you guys talk. I have to handle something real quick.
All right. Alex, or actually, I'll go to you first. What do you feel about Ted Price stepping down?
I mean, he's been the head for 30 years, so it's probably a well-deserved retirement or on to his next. It'll be interesting to see when he leaves and what he sticks around to finish or get the ball rolling on.
I'm looking through the article right now to see when he's actually leaving. I don't know if it's...
It didn't say. That PlayStation article was actually really pointless.
Hey, what's up, Otaku Man?
Vague?
I think he said
vague?
it's next year, is what he said.
26.
Just said next year.
Okay.
Point is, I think Insomniac, they'll be fine moving forward. I don't think this is a huge loss. It's just weird having now a 3-person head of the studio.
Well, that was going to be my next question is, when you had old Jimmy Ryan leave, Sony went to 2 CEOs. Now the head of Insomniac's leaving. Now they're doing 3 basically CEOs. I know they don't have the CEO titles, but 3 heads.
That almost I get the, maybe it's a personal opinion, the feeling that there wasn't one person who could. There was either one person that couldn't handle it, or they felt couldn't handle it, or had the vision. Whereas if they divide it up, they felt that would be better for the company.
I mean, but does that go to say, and this is just pure speculation, does that go to say that, Ted Price was
The man.
He was a beast. That's what he was.
Was there too much put on Ted Price's shoulders that he had to shoulder the work of 3 people?
Well, what you need to remember is that and I don't know what year this happened, but they opened a second studio in North Carolina. So they are in California and North Carolina. So that's how, they are able. We talked about how much Insomniac has been at the forefront of helping the PlayStation 5 and getting games out for them. Well, that's part of the reason why. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, that, like I said, he had been, CEO for a long time before they opened that second studio, but it had to be over 10 years ago, I think. So he's been doing this for a while, but it may have been that his workload went up after that happened, and he's made enough money and done enough, doesn't have to prove anything else, where he's like, you know what, I'm going to go enjoy life. I'm going to go, I ain't got to worry about this. It is important to note, I mean, he was one of the founders, or the founder of Insomniac Games. So Insomniac Games has really bloomed and blossomed and just crushed it under his leadership. So I'm not saying that these other folks won't do a good job, but it's going to be really weird not having Ted Price at the helm of Insomniac, because they have been so important, not just for Sony, but just they have always been a very wonderful, like they've always been made really good games and, come out with new games, but also kind of nurturing the Ratchet series, where the Ratchet games, people still want to play them after all these years, after 20 plus years. So that all happened under his leadership, and the company really took off because under his leadership. So, I mean, I think it's a big loss, but then you also prep people for the time when, Shigeru Miyamoto is not going to be around forever. We saw Satoru Iwata unfortunately passed away, in recent history. So not everyone's not around forever. So you got to prep people to make sure that they, the company can still go on after you retire. So, yeah, I mean, it's big news. If he wants to do it, he deserves it. but it will be interesting to see Insomniac after Ted Price, because he's been at the forefront of them, since the beginning. So hopefully, the culture and everything and the quality stays the same.
And Otaku says Ted is a class act.
You never hear anything bad about Ted Price.
So when you guys said he's retiring by next year, did you guys mean 2026 or did you mean 2025?
Well, when this article come out?
January, this month.
Okay, so next year will be 2026. I'm sure he's going to do another year.
You'll probably see the launch of Wolverine.
I don't think so, because I'm looking on Wikipedia, which cited an article that says he's leaving by the end of March.
So does he? They can always use him as an advisor too. Which would be
absolutely.
Nice. To have him around is just kind of like an advisory role. Like, hey, like obviously when you have 3 new people stepping into a role that someone's done for 30 plus years, it's like, hey, I'll be here. You can lean on me. I'm just not going to be doing the day-to-day stuff going into the office. And who knows, because of remote work is possible, he may have been doing remote. He may have been doing remote for a while now. Obviously, depending on where he lives, he can't be in North Carolina and California at the same time. So he may have been, remoting in with the other office. So
the PlayStation blog quoted an article from Sony Interactive, which is a letter penned by Ted, where he says he'll be retiring from the industry at the end of March, meaning he's just done. He's not going to be doing anything game related anymore.
He's gone.
Yeah. So best of luck.
He's
Ted.
going out on top.
Thanks for the memories.
So I mean, okay. Now here's the other question: is now we know Wolverine's coming from Insomniac. Does it worry you when the studio head leaves well in the middle of production of a what's supposed to be the next landmark AAA game? Does that ever worry you guys? Or do you just feel like he's
always? There's always a little bit of worry.
I would be more concerned if the project lead left. Yeah, from a CEO level, he's directing the ship in general. He's not making
make that
game level decisions. Well, no, he's making those decisions. Like, make that game.
That's what I'm saying. That's his decision.
He's not making like Wolverine shouldn't have regenerative powers in this one, or Wolverine should do bone claw. No, he's at that 1,000-foot level making those decisions,
doing like budget allocations and stuff like that. Like, hey, this is how much you have for this project and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty. Well, moving on to the listener questions, and guess what? There are no listener questions this week.
Time to check my social media.
In the Grinelli takeover, I need to start vetoing that sound when there are no questions.
Then the Grinelli takeover is officially done.
Oh, big talk. Big talk.
If the Grinelli takeover was not going to be a thing, then Tricky would host himself. But since Tricky is very comfortable not hosting, very clearly he's submitted to the Grinelli takeover.
I have to tell you, all jokes aside and whatnot, Matt has done a fantastic job hosting. But I've actually enjoyed my time not hosting, where I can actually sit back and not have to worry about the time and just give my opinions, because for 500, 600 plus episodes, I wasn't able to really give my opinions. I was always like, okay, let you guys talk, and then we move on to the next thing. I wasn't really able to give my opinions.
You could always give your opinion. You just chose not to.
Well, in my mind went to, I got to keep the show on track. So Matt's doing a good job of doing it, a fantastic job of doing it. I've actually enjoyed my time being in the backseat and just running the stream and, giving my opinions.
Well, thank you, Taco Man 5000. We love you too, and love that and appreciate that you're listening to us. So keep listening. We'll try to keep up the good work.
Is that the Japanese? Is that the Japanese form of Power Man 5000, Otaku Man 5000?
I've listened to it. On to the topic of the week. I had one idea, and Tricky sent me this picture that I included in the notes that was a much better idea than what I had. And it comes from a tweet by Chris Raygun, and he says 8 to 15 hours is a perfect game length, maybe 25 to 35, 40 max for RPGs. There are exceptions, but I'm so turned off by modern pacing. And a reply says, the length doesn't matter. It's the content inside of it. Sometimes a game is 10 hours of content and then it ends. Sometimes it has 50 hours of content and then it ends. Most of the time, a game is 10 hours of content spread over a 50-hour game. And Otaku says he got the name because of him being a big Power Man 5000 fan.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Otaku, I remember getting Tonight the Stars Revolts for my 17th birthday and listening to that end to end multiple times over. So I'm right there with you, buddy.
You know, actually, Otaku, so we went to our first like giant concert series here. We have one of the biggest rock concerts in all the United States every year, Louder Than Life. And actually, Power Man 5000 was scheduled to be there this past year in September, and that day got rained out, so we didn't get to see him. But I was ready with my Power Man 5000 shirt. But no, I had Tonight the Stars Revolt. You know, bought numerous. I'm not a huge fan of their new stuff, but you know, when they back in the day, I was definitely on the train.
They only had 2 good songs. Period.
Disagree.
What?
They only had 2 good songs.
What good songs were those?
When Worlds Collide and Bombshell.
Tonight the Stars Revolt and
Supernova Goes Pop. How about a little Nobody's Real? Nobody's Real may be their best song.
I just
also Tricky. You do remember
Bombshell from the Dudley Boys
was supposed to be released on an album called Anyone for Doomsday. And do you know why that album never came out?
Because it was released for Tough Enough WWE.
Because of September 11th. It was originally supposed to be released around September 11th, and knowing what happened, obviously, they chose not to release it after that.
Well, that's true.
At least that's the story that I've heard, but yeah.
Thank you for our Power Man 5000 divergence.
Let's get back to the topic at hand.
Yes, keeping the show on the road. What the topic here is, what is your all's take on maybe discuss on the type of game and the length of time versus what was quoted by Tuckenfarben is the name of the replier, who said, problem is that there's games that have 10 hours of content spread across.
Yeah, they're called Assassin's Creed. It's called Assassin's Creed.
I was going to say, this ties into what Alice was saying before about Rogue. It feels like there's so much content. But the question I have really is, and it, like, not to sidetrack us at all, but this also cuts into how much content should you get for your $60 or $70. As much as I disagree with Chris Ray Gunn in general, because I think the guy is a turd in itself, but it comes down to what type of game you're playing. Like, is 10 hours of content good for a first-person shooter? Is 50 hours good enough content for a JRPG? Is 15 to 20 hours good for a third-person action adventure? I think it comes down to the genre and how long the game is compared to the genre. Like, just for example, I'm addicted to Division 2. Reality, there's probably 10 hours of story content.
Yeah, but multiplayer can help with that, because I think multiplayer games can survive longer because you can play and each match is different. Whereas with a single player game, go ahead, Tricky.
No. Just to finish my point is, like, there's probably 10 hours of content in that game, but where you get the length in the game is because it's a looter shooter. It's a constant grind to go out and play this mission to get this drop and whatnot. So I feel like it really comes down to the genre of the game compared to how much content you should get. Because if I'm getting countless hours, I've played Division 2 for over 2,000 hours. I've gotten my money's worth. I've gotten a shitload of content. I've played the hell of the game. But Yield, who actually has an interest in playing the Division, hasn't even started the game yet. So, and I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, Yield. I'm just saying, where that excites me, it doesn't excite somebody else. And Yield may start playing the game. And I severely doubt he'd ever get as addicted as I am to the game. But Yield might play the game for 200 hours. It really, to me, it comes down to the genre of the game that depends on how much length of content we should have.
Like, look at it this way. I played Final Fantasy X for 70 hours and collected most, if not all, Aeons, as well as all the ultimate weapons. And what you have is, unfortunately, like, look at Lego Horizon, where it's $60, $70 for a... How long was the game did you spend on it, Tricky?
10 hours total.
Yeah, to me, that it wasn't fun. But, maybe that in and of itself is a value. The problem comes down to, if AAA games are going to continue being $70 and maybe more, because then the conversation comes to Grand Theft Auto, where there's rumors that they would be happy if they could sell for $80 to $100. Well, we also know Grand Theft Auto has a ton of content, but in reality, you could spend hundreds of hours in Grand Theft Auto, but really all the side missions and everything else, the story might be 20, 30 hours of content.
Yeah, the GTA formula is bolstered by the freedom you have to just go around and enjoy your freedom in like these cities and do whatever you want. It's not actually the gameplay itself, because I would argue.
But is that a good thing or a bad thing, though?
I mean, it's a good thing. Like, if you enjoy your time in a game, and a lot of the fun and like it's not even content, but a lot of your time in that game is because of things you come up to do. Like, I think that's fine. I would argue that there's no single player game out there that has 50 hours of content. Legitimately, because if you're like Legend of Zelda, Korok seeds, do you want to really call collecting all the fucking Korok seeds content? Now, if you want to use the shrines as an example, I'll go with for that, because the shrines are all different and they're like puzzle elements. But like collecting Korok seeds, collecting hundreds of Korok seeds, or collecting any collectible in a game, that's not really content. You're just going to different areas of the map to collect something. I don't necessarily consider that content. So I would say I don't think there's really, at least to mind, it comes to my mind, a game that I played that's a single player game that has 50 hours of legitimate content. A lot of it is bloated.
Well, Matt, let me ask you, how long of content do you think is in Elden Ring? Because it is part of the picture where it's labeled 60 hours of content. Is there legit 60 hours of content in Elden Ring?
Well, no, when you consider a lot of time is spent banging your head against bosses.
Grinding.
Yeah.
Grinding it out.
I can't tell you how much time I sat outside of Mog's Palace just mowing down the same whatever the frick their names are, just gaining runes so that way I could level up to get to the next area. And you bring up a very good point, Alex, is the traveling. If there's interesting things to do along your way, that's one thing. If it's literally you're just traveling and there's nothing there, and the only way for you to open up something else is you're just walking along a path, if developers aren't adding interesting stuff for you to do, there's two mindsets to that. You're either inflating your time by adding BS, or you're providing something of value. Take Tears of the Kingdom. As you're traveling, you come across the salesman who's holding a sign for his boss, and you have to figure out a way to hold up the sign so he doesn't have to stand there. I was like, the stuff we're getting from this is not worth the effort and time I'm spent being sidetracked. So, add more meaningful stuff that is going to give us something good. Take Helldivers, for instance. And at the level we're playing at, I should say me, Yil, and Alex, maybe not Tricky, and that's not a knock on you, Tricky, because you still have a lot to.
Knock on Tricky.
No knock.
You still have a long way to go in leveling, but when you guys open a point of interest, whether it's a buddy bunker, whether it's a fallen drone, and you get requisition slips, how do you feel at that point?
Fuck that.
Well,
Fuck that shit.
So I'm fine with. I'm fine with
You triggered Yield.
No, Yield can attest this, because every time I play with them,
You get
and
so
we do something, and it's requisition slips, whether in a drone or in a bunker, I make sure that I make it known. I'm like, oh, a weapon requisition slips. What the fuck? I'm very vocal about that.
So to that point, to me, because they offer you 100 requisition slips, is an insult to wasting time to go to there. If they offered like 2,000, 3,000, in requisition slips, that's another thing. I'd still feel butthurt about it because
they're
I'm
still
maxed
useless.
out.
You offered me 1,000,000 requisition slips. That's still useless because I'm maxed the fuck out.
No, and if they had a requisition slip sink, that would be one thing. But the fact that you go out of your way to get requisition slips and they mean absolutely nothing, that's, to me, padding time in a game that is absolutely useless. I do a thing in Tears of the Kingdom and the guy gives me 20 rupees and, some meat. I'm like, well, I could have spent time better finding, cutting grass to get rupees and then killing an animal for the meat. Like, this is not worth it.
Bitch, I want super credits. I cut yield off. I've got a point to make, but I cut yield off. So yield, you were saying, sir.
Oh no, I was just commenting with what Matt was saying.
So yield, when it comes down to it, like, how long should a game be? Like, are you feeling like games are bloated nowadays?
Honestly, that's up to the player. I mean, we all could sit here and we can all have different opinions on a game and if it was too long or if it wasn't. I mean, I just got done with Outlaws, and I remember complaining a couple of weeks ago how I felt like everything was starting to be copy and paste. And then I ran into a few missions that kind of made it feel not that way anymore. There's a fine balance between when you have an open world game, let's put it in that aspect, of your story and your side missions. Not being cookie cutter, not being the kind of the same thing. So it's, in the end, it's kind of in the eye of the beholder. Because I've played games that have been super short and absolutely loved them because the story was really good. And I've played long games where I'm just like, we could have cut a third to a half of this out, it feels like, and still gotten the same feeling. But you could ask somebody else and get the exact opposite answer. So it's just what you like and how you like it. I don't think there's no sweet spot. Like we played Uncharted for how many years and absolutely loved them. And then someone pointed out that that's only a 10-hour game. And you're like, what? And then when you sat down and thought about it, when you like buzz through the game, you're right. If you don't go look for everything, it's only a 10-hour game. But it's a really good 10-hour game. So it's what you like as a gamer.
All right, so let me ask you, the three of you guys, when it comes to Helldivers, and I'm not knocking Helldivers when I say this, but there's really no story to Helldivers other than, the initial opening credit scene and you going out and you doing mindless killing. And again, I'm not knocking the game, but you could argue and say that every mission's different. Every time you drop from the dropship, the locations are different and whatnot. When it comes to games like that, how do you guys feel about the level of content in Helldivers? And I'll go to Yield first.
Well, once you get to where we're at, where you've bought everything, you've bought all your weapons, stratagems. You've upgraded your ship to the max with all of its buffs. The only time that I'll play is if one of the other guys are playing. All right, I'll play a little bit. Or they drop a new war bond, and I invest in the war bond. Now I want to play and build my super credits back up. I want to advance in the war bond, try out their new weapons. But I mean, I've got my money's worth out of the game. So until they add new content, or it's one of those, hey, let's play some Helldivers tonight for the fun of it. I've had got my fill of the game, and I'm moving on.
So I'll just redefine the question here. What to you defines content for the game? Is it a new enemy faction, a new war bond? What content? What do you define as content for your Helldivers?
So what would keep me coming back longer would be a war bond, because an enemy you could play it, let's say 5 times, you know, and you can be like, okay, unless it's like super challenging or something. The war bond, if you are a completionist or want to get through it or own everything, you have to keep playing to earn the war medals to purchase everything.
All right, Alex, I'll go to you next.
I mean, with Helldivers, the multiplayer aspect of it and how matches can be different. Like, you may be going to the same planets, but every match is different because of the scenarios that unfold throughout the match. So, I mean, Helldivers, new content, you know, the war bond, collecting the armors, collecting, you know, cosmetics, collecting weapons. I think that's, yes, I mean, new enemies like the Illuminate are new content. The only thing about them, though, is that after a certain point, you know, you've experienced them, you know, enough, and they cease to be new, kind of like Yield said. So, what has kept people come back to Helldivers? I mean, yes, the gameplay is fun, but it's really they can play with friends, and that you have a steady stream of content, you know, sort of like Rocket League, that's been coming out. I think the best way, and this is the point I want to make earlier about how I define content, and I'll use Horizon as an example. You know, Horizon, like a mission or a side mission or something like that, you know, that is content. But if you go and spend 20 hours, you know, killing Slitherfangs because you just like killing Slitherfangs, that's not content, you know? Like the creatures in the world, like, yes, that is something created by the game makers. But if you find fun in going around and just, you know, hunting them down just because you enjoy hunting, that's not content. You're making your own fun. So that kind of, to me, is like what content is.
I think you just triggered Matt.
What? Uh-oh.
So, as an avid Monster Hunter fan, here's where I agree and disagree with you, Alex. Because in Monster Hunter, for instance, the fun is fighting the monsters, getting their materials. And since it's an RNG aspect, a lot of time is padded because you might have to fight a monster multiple times to get the materials you want to complete the set you want. In one aspect, you could say that's bullshit. You killed this monster. You should get the materials and build the stuff you want right away. In another aspect, part of the game is the grind and the loop is what they call it. And then there's also the fact of it's fun to play with friends. It's thin on content story-wise, but not thin on content gameplay-wise or collection-wise. Meanwhile, Helldivers also has that same aspect where there may not be a ton of content, and after you've collected it all, there's not much to do except play with your friends and have fun. And I think too many people get caught up on a game needs to be X hours or a game should be no more than X hours. As long as it's fun, I think the length is kind of a side piece. I had a lot of fun with Tears of the Kingdom, albeit it was broken up by longer sections of traveling, exploring, and in some places exploring is fun. In others, it might be tedious. So there's no good answer to this question other than games should not be super short, with the exception of if people really are making games to, make a rat plat or a spam plat, things like that. But I look at a game like Lego Horizon, and for the price you're paying, I just don't see the amount of content there worthy of that price.
See, and I'll throw this out there. This might be a little controversial, but I would say that the ability to play with your friends could also qualify as content as well, because that is an aspect of the game that keeps you around, is if you're having fun playing with your friends.
Well, no, that's being able to play with your friends is not content.
Well, I mean, if you're able to drop into the same planet, but the mission's different or the exploring's different because this bunker is not in the same location and whatnot, and you're running a mission with Yield and Matt, and constantly you're launching in, I would argue and say the ability to play with your friends is a sort of content. not necessarily being provided by the devs, but the ability to be different every time. So
yeah,
to speak.
but content is provided by the team. If you're doing it yourself, if it's on the player, that's not content, because that is the player themselves creating their own fun in the game. The content is what is given to you by the creators. What you do with the game is on you. So, like, multiplayer is a system. It's not content, though. Like multiplayer maps, multiplayer missions, co-op, that yes, that can be content. But just the ability to play multiplayer is not content itself.
Yield, how do you feel about what
it's an option, is what it is.
Am I off base, Yield, or am I just, you understand what I'm trying to say?
No, say it again.
So in Helldivers, you can launch into the same planet 20 times.
Yeah.
And the planet would be different 20 times.
Yeah.
I'm arguing, well, not arguing, but I'm stating that the fact that the planet is different, and you're able to launch in with your friends on the same planet, and it be a different experience every time, I would argue and say that's content being content as well, not necessarily being produced by the developer, but the developer put that in there to allow that to happen.
Okay. I don't agree with what you're saying, but I can't tell you you're wrong. I know that sounds like a cop-out answer, but that's how I feel. I mean, seriously, I don't agree with that statement, but at the same time, I can see how people can view that, and therefore I can't be like, well, you're wrong for viewing it that way. If that's how you view content, then you're right. But that's not how I view content.
And the reason I say this, because like I run the same missions in the Division over and over and over again, and I can tell you the spawn points of every enemy. I can tell you, we have to, if we're doing a speed run, we have to be at this point at this time, and this person's got to run the same gear. Helldivers, there's no way you could speed run the levels because and be able to collect 100% of things because you don't know where everything is. That's where my basis and my mind's going, in the fact that could also be content. Matt, am I off base too, or am I?
I think it depends on the intent of the game, because if you turn around and make a game where RNG is how the basis of exploration is done, take a look at No Man's Sky, where that was super thin on content as far as what you get out of it wise, and the grind was massive. But they've since improved that and balanced that equation a lot better. So I see what you're saying, and I think it depends heavily on the game, because here, to me, like you said, Tricky, in Helldivers, content is indeed playing the game, but also playing the game with friends and the things that ensue because of that. That's the content of that game. Whereas the content of an RPG is the grinding, the leveling, the weapons, the armor, and beating the end of the game. So content can be variable based off of the game type.
All right.
Well, I think we've spent quite a bit of time on this topic, so thank you for bringing that to our attention, Tricky. And with that, we are going to start closing out the show. Alex, your shout out, sir.
I'm going to do a little something different this week, in that I'm not going to do my normal shout outs. This past week, and I didn't actually tell anybody about this, at least nobody on the show, I went to a celebration of life for one of my former coworkers. He passed away at age 26, and I'm not really going to say how, although you'll probably be able to guess how. His name was Alex, and I enjoyed working with him. He was we just talked about video games and movies and stuff like that for hours, and he was when he left the store and I didn't work with him anymore, I always wished he had come back, because he was a nice guy and I enjoyed talking to him. So all I will say is mental health is important, so make sure that you and yourself and those around you who you care about are taken care of at always. So I just wanted to give a little shout out and say a little something about Alex, because he was a good dude. His name was Alex Alfers, and he will be missed by a lot of people. Last but not least, I give a shout out to my loving girlfriend Ashley. I love you, hun. That's going to be the end of my shout outs.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate that. Yield.
Give a shout out to Sourful Devil, Mr. Pyres 10, and Nitro for the Star Wars Battlefront 2 boost. Shout out to Alex, Tricky, and Matt for hosting. Shout out to everybody who was hanging out with us in the Twitch chat this evening. Shout out to Gareth and all the work that he does for the Rarity competition. Shout out to all the pimps and the madams of the Whoredom. You all are awesome. And sure, I'm forgetting someone or something, but we'll call those shout outs for the week.
All right. Tricky?
Shout out to the listeners, shout out to everybody in the chat, shout out to you guys. Yeah, that's it. Shout out to Will for all the thumbnails he makes. I feel like I asked too much of him, but he's also has no problem trolling us, but right back. So, yeah. Love you, Will.
And shout out to those who were in chat tonight: Gaz, the Goddess, Otaku, I think Will. And shout out to you, gents, for recording. Shout out to the Channel 3 community. Make sure to check out channel3.gg for your gaming social media needs. And shout out to my wife, V, for everything she does. And with that, until next time, Tricky.
Happy trophy hunting.
See ya.
Later.